Yo, 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 what is up? What is up? What is going on, everybody? This is the April 12th, 2020 episode of the Boxing Source Radio Show. I am your host, James Bell, the lead boxing analyst for the Cold Hard Truth on Sports and the leader of the Boxing Source on social media. You could get boxing articles at theboxingsource.net. You could also catch us on social media as you can go to Facebook and look up the Boxing Source and like the page. You could also follow us on Instagram, the Boxing Source. You could also follow us on Twitter at Boxing Source 2. And you could also follow the YouTube channel by going to the Boxing Source. Right now, I am on live through Blog Talk Radio, but also um, doing a simulcast through StreamYard that is being broadcast on YouTube. So this is, first time for me doing this here. So just wanted to put this out, see how it goes, see how things are running here. And if you do want to get on to the live portion of this particular podcast, you could call in at 347-237-5539. Once again, 347-237-5539. You could press the one key to get on the queue and you'll be able to talk live on the show. Here, I'm just going to go through a few news and notes over the past week in boxing. We did have King Gary Antoine Russell on yesterday. It was a one-on-one phone interview with Gary Antoine Russell. So that is actually available now on iTunes or through Anchor.fm. So when you get the chance, go on either Anchor.fm or iTunes or even Google Podcasts or Spotify, and you'll be able to catch the latest entry to the Boxing Source playlist, which has the interview with myself and Gary Antoine Russell. So be sure to check that out. But here, for the time being, just wanted to, go through a few news and notes that are around in the sport of boxing. And I was going to see if I could put this third in the docket or whatever it is, as far as like the list of stories. But I mean, to me, this involves one of the divisions that is, I would say, one of the hottest divisions in boxing, and that is the lightweight division. So we have Devin the Dream Haney, who recently had been reinstated to hold the WBC lightweight championship after him being sidelined with a shoulder injury. Now, going back to last year, Devin Haney had been involved in a tournament within the lightweight division where he would be fighting one fighter, and initially there was going to be another matchup involving a certain person in the lightweight division against, I think it was Luke Campbell, right? And the winners were slated to fight each other for the WBC lightweight championship. Well, like I said, on one side, you would have had Devin Haney versus Zaur Abdullayev. And on the other side, you would have had Luke Campbell against Teofimo Lopez. Those four guys were on the top four in the rankings for the WBC. And so, with that being said, they we're going to face each other in a tournament for the WBC Lightweight Championship. But Bob Arum did his magic, and he was able to have Vasily Lomachenko fight Luke Campbell for the quote unquote vacant WBC Lightweight Championship. And he made Teofimo Lopez go away from those WBC rankings and put himself in the IBF rankings to fight for the IBF lightweight title, which was going to be against Richard Commey. So you had Devin Haney fight Zaur Abdullayev at the theater at Madison Square Garden. He was able to win that particular bout in a few rounds, dusted Zaur Abdullayev to win the WBC interim championship. Vasily Lomachenko defeated Luke Campbell to win the WBC championship, and it was set for Devin Haney to fight Vasily Lomachenko for that WBC belt. However, the folks at Top Rank were able to work their magic, and they made Vasily Lomachenko WBC franchise champion. And then the WBC elevated Devin Haney to be WBC champion. And in his first defense, he ended up injuring his shoulder that sidelined him, so he was a champion in recess. So while he had been in recess, the big matchup that's supposed to have happened is Teofimo Lopez versus Vasily Lomachenko. As Teofimo Lopez in December was able to defeat Richard Commey for the IBF lightweight title, and he was going to face unified champion Vasily Lomachenko for the WBO, IBF, and WBA Super Championships. There hadn't been no set date for it, even with the whole thing going down with the coronavirus stuff. And now seems like on Twitter, it looks like there has been some little back and forth between Devin Haney and Teofimo Lopez. But before I get into that, trying to see if I could get a caller in here from the 205 area code. You're on the Boxing Source radio show. What's happening? All right, got Mike Grady on here. What's going on with you? Mm. Yeah. Yeah, once you have like a little training regimen when it comes to boxing or training with boxing, and you get sidelined a lot, it's very tough to get right back into it. And you know, once you go through the rehab process, it's like you have those twitches within your muscles and stuff like that that usually react to how you throw punches and how you move your feet and things like that. So like with punches, if you we're used to hitting a heavy bag. Your muscles were used to the resistance that was there from that heavy bag. But once you get back into it after a long period of time, then your muscles are like, oh man, this is unfamiliar. Uh, how do I react to this? You know what I mean? So it takes some time for those muscles to react. But at least you're able to get right back into it, and over the course of time in the next few weeks, your muscles will get used to it once again, and you'll be right back where you were before the injury. I mean, yeah. So I was just gonna go through a few stories within the past week, but it seems like earlier today, or yeah, like real early today, man, it looks like there was like a back and forth between Devin Haney and Teofimo Lopez and things like that. Because I was talking about the situation with the WBC Lightweight Championship, as that lightweight championship was vacated by Mikey Garcia when he moved up to welterweight to fight Errol Spence. And when that happened, the WBC made the tournament up, 4-man tournament to decide who would be the new WBC lightweight champion. And originally they had it to where it was Devin Haney against Zara Abdullayev, and then Luke Campbell against Teofimo Lopez, and the winners would face each other for the WBC lightweight championship. But Bob Arum worked his magic and made Luke Campbell fight Vasily Lomachenko for the WBC belt, and then you still had Haney against Abdullayev, and that was ended up for the interim championship. And then Arum moved Lopez to the IBF rankings to eventually face Richard Comey for that IBF belt. So he worked this magic to where he has it to the point where now it would be Vasily Lomachenko versus Teofimo Lopez, for those unified titles. But now you have Devin Haney there with the WBC belt. And on Twitter earlier today, he said he basically called out Teofimo Lopez and said that he says, "You ducked me in the WBC tournament and you damn sure don't want to fight me if you beat Loma." Like he said that, if Teofimo Lopez beats Vasily Lomachenko, then he won't go ahead and face Devin Haney, because if he did, that would be for the undisputed lightweight championship. Because the franchise championship, you can't lose it. Once you're named a franchise champion, you're pretty much franchise until I guess you move up or whatever it is. So it's basically been a back and forth between those two. I think that we had Teofimo Lopez kind of answered what he said, and he said that basically that Devin Haney is annoying, or so to speak. But I feel that Devin Haney made a little point there, because I mean, you had the chance to fight Devin Haney for the WBC belt, and you ended up choosing to go the route of the IBF and fighting Richard Comey for that IBF belt instead of fighting Devin Haney for the WBC belt. What's your thoughts about that, Mike?
I don't follow Devin Haney enough to know propaganda or whatever, but I have seen Teofimo Lopez fight a few times, and it just so happens that it just happens that the cards that I want to watch for Devin Haney, he's typically on cards that not that exciting, so I don't watch the full card.
Mm.
In terms of at least the cards that I think I haven't watched many of the fights, if not any of them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Didn't watch that. But so I can't really speak on Devin Haney a lot, but I mean, Teofimo Lopez seems to be all feeling for 3-round fights. And he seemed to bring a lot of things in terms of 3-round fights. One of the Charlo blast people out and hit him real hard early. I think it's probably the younger
Jermell.
154. He used to go real hard early, which I guess he still does go hard. You can tell he's training, trying to try something.
Mm-hmm.
But once he started going deep around, he understood that he had to at least save some, even though he's trying to knock people out with his cookies, get it all in the beginning. And so you can tell that Teofimo Lopez is I'm trying to get out of here early. But then when that happens, when that doesn't happen, it's tough to fight.
Yeah, because he has to make adjustments like that. Yeah, the thing with Charlo, he has a little bit of issues with guys that are kind of hard to hit, and the adjustments he makes isn't like really, enough. It's just like for me, like in that second Harrison fight, I feel like Harrison was at fault for that particular fight because he left himself open when he could have, stayed at a distance and boxed, and he would have basically, won that fight. I feel like he would have blown away Charlo, but I don't know because I think when I checked the judges' scorecards, they were like, man, questionable. But um, yeah, the thing with Haney is he's like a fighter with a good mix of skills offensively and defensively. Because he kind of like incorporates that style of Floyd Mayweather, but also, has the power behind him to, knock out his opponents. N-
Oh, okay. 'Cause at one point Floyd Mayweather, right?
Correct, correct. He was with Floyd Senior, at one point, but now he's under his dad Bill Haney, and Bill Haney is like his not only his trainer but also like his front man of sorts, to be kind of like his main promoter outside of Eddie Hearn at this particular point. But you know, with that like combination, they're able to do the things that they're doing right now. So um, we'll see like how the thing happens there with Teofimo Lopez because you still have that potential fight between um, Devin Haney and Ryan Garcia, as they were confronted each other at the end of Ryan Garcia's fight against Francisco Fonseca. So they've had a little bit of a rivalry going back into the amateurs that they're also trying to build up. You know, so I mean,
And fight.
who Haney and do I think Haney and Lopez will fight or Haney and Garcia? Oh, Haney and Garcia, yeah, they're going to fight. It's just that initially Eddie Hearn wanted that fight to happen, as soon as probably within the first half of next year. And Devin Haney kind of like has that same type of mentality. But the thing about it is, Devin also said that he wants those fights as soon as possible because he's not going to be at 135 pounds for long. Me, I feel like he comes down from say 145 pounds to get to lightweight at this particular point. And he's still young, so he's going to be able to have that issue where it's going to be more troublesome for him to get down to 135 pounds. And so, with that being said, he wants to try to, get the biggest fights possible at 135 pounds right now before he ends up moving up in weight. I feel that Haney, Garcia, and Teofimo Lopez have the time to basically move up in weight to 140 pounds and as high as 147 pounds. Vasyl Lomachenko is not going to move up; he's going to move down. And you also have Gervonta Tank Davis with the WBA regular title at lightweight. Um, and I think this is pretty much his peak as well, is at 135 pounds. So if they want to, try to set up those big fights at 135, it's best to do this sooner rather than later. You did have planned for Ryan Garcia to fight Jorge Linares in the summer around July. So, depending on what happens here this month, they may, still try to schedule that particular fight between Ryan Garcia and Linares. And if Garcia gets through that, then it just depends on what they do for him next before pitting him against Devin Haney there at lightweight. Um, with Devin Haney, they had him as the WBC champion in recess, but recently they had reinstated him to being the full WBC champion once again. So he may end up coming back and fighting the top contender for that WBC lightweight title, which I think is Javier Fortuna. Um, if not, it would be Luke Campbell. Yeah, it's Javier Fortuna. So he would go ahead and have that mandatory defense for the WBC, which, if he's able to do that first and get that out of the way, then you would have the unification bout between Vasily Lomachenko and Teofimo Lopez, and the winner of those fights will be able to face each other for the undisputed lightweight championship. I'm like, why not have that happen? But it's just, a matter of time here, because, like I said, Haney, Haney and Lopez are moving up, and Vasily Lomachenko is most likely moving down. So you got to be able to, get yourself into the position to make those big fights, because other than that, you might not have that chance ever again, especially in the lightweight division. So I kind of feel like that is something to basically look out for. What are your thoughts about the thing with Teofimo Lopez and Vasily Lomachenko? Because they initially had issues trying to schedule a bout or have it solidified for April 30th, because I think it was the issue with the venue. So, what are your thoughts about that particular fight?
Well, to be honest, I'm not as of yet. I in this fight, this would tell me what I need to know about him. In terms of how another certain boxing media anoint certain fighters
Yeah.
that haven't done a lot, like to be considered like say pound for pound, a la
Chocolate Tito?
I'm like that knocked out by Corona. God dang, that sounds crazy.
Mm.
But Chocolate a la what's the other Filipino dude name?
Oh, Nonito Donaire?
Donito Daenerys, Asian small guy, the one who fought Donaire.
Oh, the buzzsaw. Now we're in a way.
Yeah, Monster anyway. So all these guys they haven't really done anything to anoint them. They have been beating consistently. So but I think that Teofimo Lopez landed the right shot Conway, and that ended a lot quicker. And for his well, I think he probably would have won anyway. Probably would have got. But
Hmm.
it would have been great to see his fight this moment. How he would have won. And so in a fight with Lomachenko, I don't think Lomachenko gets knocked out. I don't think so.
Mm.
Can he get knocked out? Sure. But I would put my money on him not getting knocked out more so than I would him knocked out. I would bet on him not getting knocked out.
Welcome to Blog
But
Talk Radio.
Yeah.
I would think I would think that he would be less likely to get knocked out. Does Teofimo Lopez have the ability to knock him out? Yes,
Of course.
yes.
But
I think once his name is still away from him early and take him to the deep rounds, making sure it's competitive early, and before the middle rounds, he'll get close to him. Once
Yeah.
Teofimo Lopez things have gone off. So for me, it's hard to say, what a fight because there are a lot of questions that I just don't think have been answered for me in terms of Teofimo Lopez
Mm.
put him out there. Does he have the skill? Does he have the skill to beat Lomachenko? Yes, he does. But like when we look at let's say like the card, when we look at it behind the eight ball and keep losing 4, 5 rounds, Lomachenko outboxing him, like what he gonna do? Can he get off the ring? If he's like losing all these rounds, does he mentally stay in the fight? What if he get knocked down and come back from that and just so like he fight through? Like it's a lot of tension, like have to be tension, like but Lomachenko kind of makes you try to question yourself. He don't believe don't know it's in there. I can't say I haven't seen evidence.
Mm,
You know, the whole assuming that I need to see evidence. I need to see empirical data to show me that it's there.
mm,
Some form. Like you can either extrapolate it somehow.
yeah.
And I think this fight will do that. This fight will tell us what we need to know in terms of that championship medal. Even in the loss, we found out a lot about Deontay Wilder in the first Louis Ortiz fight. We
Mm,
found out a lot about Anthony Joshua in the Vladimir Klitschko fight. Like you find out who guys are in these fights. You gotta you have to be this fight to find out who they are. You found out who Errol Spence was in the
Sean Porter. That Sean Porter.
fight
Kell Brook.
Dale Brooks fight. You found out who Errol Spence was
Mm-hmm.
Dale Brooks fight. Sure. Errol Spence was like the front runner, winning the fight. But Dale Brooks had times when he turned Errol Spence had to like,
Yeah.
just roll over.
Yeah.
Just roll over. He had to here. He had to be like, okay, all right, let's and so in saying that, I knew that he would have been ready for Sean Porter. So this was kind of step further. So in seeing him fight against Dale Brooks, he knew the mentality of Sean Porter. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
Sean Porter won a dog. Sean Porter gonna come here and like bully me. So what did Errol Spence do? Errol Spence was like, okay, fuck that. I'm gonna take the fight to him. Errol Spence was the one doing the dirty shit. Errol Spence was pushing his head down, punching him whenever he could, punching him low, punching him high, punching him everywhere he can. Errol Spence was trying to dog Sean Porter.
Mm-hmm.
To some extent, you could say that it helped him work or whatever, but Sean Porter stayed that fought, he fucked back. And you found out a lot more about him in that Sean Porter fight. But Dale Brooks told me that he had that dog in him to compete with a Sean Porter.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's my thing. I don't know. We have to see these fights to see what medal he has.
Yeah. Yeah. The thing with Teofimo Lopez is that, I didn't really, gauge much out of him in that Richard Comey fight because, Richard Comey basically got caught with the same shot that he got caught with, um, when he fought Robert Easter Jr. back in 2016. Um, so that kind of like showed that there wasn't really, much that people could go on from that particular fight. And also, the guys like Diego Magdaleno, you kind of see a little bit of talent with Teofimo Lopez against guys like Diego Magdaleno and Mason Menard. But his previous fight against Masayoshi Nakatani, like he had to, go through a good little bit of things in that particular fight in order to get the decision win. So going up against a guy, the caliber of a Vasyl Lomachenko, that's going to be, pretty much a step up for him. For me, the thing with Vasyl Lomachenko is that I don't feel that Vasyl Lomachenko is nearly the same fighter at lightweight that he was at super featherweight. I think that, ever since he fought Jorge Linares, and while he got the win and the stoppage win, I felt like at that particular point that the lightweight division was his absolute peak. He couldn't go any higher than lightweight. And after that stoppage win over Jorge Linares, he had his fight against Jose Pedraza, where it took him a little bit in order for him to knock down Pedraza to get a unanimous decision win. He went ahead and defeated Anthony Crawler in Los Angeles, which I don't know why they had that particular fight because Crawler didn't really have much of a chance, regardless of where Vasyl Lomachenko was at that particular point. And then, Lomachenko went ahead and fought Luke Campbell, where, it was a little bit of a tough fight, but, took some time for, him to get that unanimous decision win. And now you got guys like, Teofimo Lopez and Devin Haney that are like chopping at the bit to fight Vasyl Lomachenko. And I think that Teofimo Lopez has a lot of confidence right now at this particular point to where he feels that he'll be able to defeat Vasyl Lomachenko and actually be the guy to want to stop Vasyl Lomachenko, Um, so he wants to have that, feather on his cap and basically be a guy that Top Rank could shoot to the top of the sport of boxing to have that type of a win over someone as quote unquote legendary as Vasyl Lomachenko is. So that's something that I'm kind of like looking forward to once that fight actually happens, and to see where both of those guys are at their particular points of their careers there. So that's what I got on that. Next up, I was talking about the thing with Devin Haney and Teofimo Lopez, and also going into that fight between Lopez and Lomachenko. Once things pick back up. Another story that I've seen here, and this is through Ring Magazine. Um, this has kind of been a little bit funny to me. Um, the headline is this: Adrian Broner says coronavirus pandemic encourages him to focus 120% on boxing. He basically says that the thing here with the situation with the coronavirus could encourage him to get back into shape. Um, you know, so I guess he's trying to say that he wants to drop everything as far as like social media, women, the clubs, and all of that, and focus on boxing. Um, man, I'm sorry, but I don't really believe all that. I don't really believe all that. I mean, you have that, the kind of like the joke with Adrian Broner is that he's like focused on certain things, but he ends up losing all of the big fights that he's in. So at this particular point, I don't know what his next course of action is going to be. And he's kind of like a little bit of an enigma here because he does have 4 losses. He's never been knocked out. Um, he hasn't had a fight since January 19th of last year against Manny Pacquiao. But it just you just got to see like where he's at this particular point of his career. He's lost 2 of the last 3 fights, and the other fight that he had against Jesse Vargas, it was a draw. So right now at this particular point, I don't know what his next method of direction is. There was a little bit of rumblings that he could possibly fight Devin Haney, but man, I don't know about all that. Um, but even so, if that fight came up, that wouldn't be a good look for Adrian Broner, because he's not at the particular point in his career where he could really keep up with someone like Devin Haney. Even though he's out there. What is it? He's about to be 31 years old. Um, yeah, Man, I don't know, man. He's like 31. He's gonna have to. Well, he's at 30. He's going to turn 31 this year, on July 28th. But yeah, going against those younger guys, man, I don't know. Particularly how he like carries himself, or how he carried himself the majority of his career. Like that's tough to shake off, for a fighter like the likes of a Devin Haney. So mm, that's kind of a stretch there by Adrian Broner, saying that he's going to be, focused 120% on boxing. That's something that he should have done, years ago. Um, a lot of people would feel that he should have done that after he, basically lost to Maidana, and that was in 2013. So kind of a little bit of a dilemma there with Adrian Broner. What's your thoughts about that, Mike?
Well, I mean, so if I had to say anything, he can't go to the club. He can't, do all the other things. So what else is there? Like, if he does this stuff, I hope he understands that he puts himself at risk. Plus,
Yep.
are open to that. What else he got to do that work out?
Right.
To say things. Which is what I'm realizing. I ain't even doing something. I'm starting to feel him. I ain't playing basketball in like
Yeah.
I'm like, damn,
Yeah.
it's playing basketball.
Yeah.
So that's why I was like, I'm starting to feel him.
Hmm.
I'm, I'm alone. I'm weird. My release with basketball. Some guys,
Hmm.
but so yeah, I mean, what else is there for him to do other than work out? And his sport is boxing, so why not work out over boxing? Do I think that he can? Yeah, he will do that, but if he fights people, he needs to fight people on par of Andre Berto. He needs to fight somebody like Luis Palazzo, older, but this ain't a winnable fight. He ain't guaranteed to win in the fight. But I mean, you got to train some like the older fighters that he has before. Got her name like Paul Pacquiao, um, Paul John Porter. He needs Danny Garcia, Danny Garcia. Um, finally, Danny Garcia.
Hmm.
Because the way he's been there, that is pretty right for that left hand that Danny Garcia throws.
Yeah.
I think if anybody has potential, like what their strengths are, it's Danny Garcia. Because it's going to come out of nowhere. Danny Garcia is going to unload like a rattle. As soon as he like throws something in the land, he ain't going to feel it.
Hmm.
But maybe on the nose, he can outbox Danny Garcia. That's what he does. But he, okay, the money fight he fights Danny Garcia. He fights Keith Thurman. He'll lose to Keith Thurman, but I mean Keith Thurman is definitely he's not the same fighter.
Right.
He'll lose to Keith Thurman. But my question is, Keith Thurman knocked him out at this point. So before Keith Thurman knocked him out, or been very close to knocking him out.
Hmm.
Can Keith Thurman knock him out now?
Mm.
Or just win like on the fourth decision? That's my question.
Y-
But he can fight Danny Garcia, Keith Thurman, obviously from
Errol Spence.
Spence. Stay away from Errol Spence. He don't want Errol Spence anyway.
Right.
Spence ain't gonna play. Errol Spence laughed and joked off.
Right.
Hey, I'm sure that's what he's like.
Hmm. I mean, they hang together and stuff like that, but it's That's kind of like a different little thing. But I feel like that the one fight that you mentioned that's very interesting for both fighters is Broner against Keith Thurman. I mean, Keith Thurman had that extended layoff, and then when he came back against was it Josecito Lopez, and he wasn't fully there against Lopez. Um, and then following that fight, he fought Manny Pacquiao, and he ended up losing to Manny Pacquiao. But that was a very close fight between Thurman and Pacquiao. But that ended up being Keith Thurman's first loss of his professional career. So you do have that thing where, okay, has Thurman really gotten all of his skills or his faculties back as far as like his speed, his reflexes, his timing, and all of that? And then on the other side is Adrian Broner still relevant in the welterweight division? Because he's lost every key fight pretty much that he's had at the welterweight division to Sean Porter, to Marcos Maidana, to Manny Pacquiao, and to Mikey Garcia. And now it's like, okay, he's not necessarily, well, of course he's not a A-level fighter at welterweight, but we don't even know if he's a B-level fighter at welterweight right now. So like you said with the thing with Danny Garcia, that could be a dangerous fight for him because he could end up being knocked out going up against Danny Garcia. But with Keith Thurman, where he hasn't really been the one-time Keith Thurman in years, that we can see like, okay, is Keith Thurman all the way back, or is Adrian Broner still have a shot of being relevant in the welterweight division? So that matchup between those two guys would be a very good one. Before I go into this next topic, what I'm going to do is I'm going to end the simulcast that's on YouTube. So if y'all want to listen to it, this podcast live, you would go into Blog Talk, or you could call in at 347-237-5539. Once again, that's 347-237-5539. All right. So we're gonna continue this thing here on Blog Talk Radio, and also it'll be available on iTunes, on Anchor.fm, and on Google Podcast there. So that's how we're going to carry that out.